This is Bryant with Extend Cafes, an alliance of cafes whose mission is to inspire and equip Kingdom Cafe initiatives. And today, I'm going to introduce you to Scott Scones and a coffee shop that they are starting in Brownsville, Oregon. The name is Pilgrim Way Coffeehouse. And Scott is going to take you on a journey that they've been on. It's a journey that's going to challenge you. It's a journey that's going to inspire you, but also a journey that you're going to see that they're trusting in God's provision through God's people. So listen to this, and we'll also have actually an in-person interview later in this video. So thanks for watching and enjoy.
My name is Scott Scones, and I've been married for 21 years to Annie, and I have 8 children, and I live here in Brownsville, Oregon. And I wanted to share something with you that's been on my heart. We've been wanting to open a coffee house here in Brownsville, and it's been quite a journey. Come, I'll tell you the story. I've owned my own tree service for about 15 years, and this is my primary occupation right now. But there's been a steady burden growing in mine and my wife's hearts to create a unique, consecrated environment where children of God can gather together and use the gifts that He's given them to reach the lost with the precious gospel. There's so many precious souls here in this town of Brownsville that need to hear the message that Jesus came to bring. The desire has steadily grown to offer believers and unbelievers alike a more relevant and authentic church experience than what has been displayed in this culture. Seeing the precious church defined primarily by the traditions of services, programs, buildings, Sundays, and titles has created a longing to promote an opportunity for members of Christ's body to live more of a daily, unified lifestyle of fellowship and outreach. Seeing unbelievers ever increasingly being bombarded by technology, sin, entertainment, political propaganda, and the demoralization of our culture has increased the burden of engaging them with their greatest need, Jesus. This burden has inspired vision within our family to open a coffee house as an outpost for the kingdom of God in the midst of our hometown. With my family and a team of local disciples from surrounding churches, we desire to draw unbelievers into an inspiring environment that engages and challenges them to seriously consider life's deepest questions, like, where did I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? We desire to offer a healthy atmosphere where believers can use their gifts and talents to cause people to look upward to their Creator while on their journey of life. Through artistic expression, including live music, drawing and painting, candle and soap making, pottery, and of course, excellent food and coffee, we want to set the table for meaningful conversations, a listening ear, and building long-term relationships that inspire others to consider or continue walking the narrow path that leads to life. The Pilgrim Way captures the vision that drives us to exemplify a lifestyle and perspective where love is the journey, Jesus is the way, and eternity with the Father is the goal. The location of the coffee house is an inspiring and developing story. Brownsville is one of the oldest towns in Oregon and was established at the end of one of the original routes of the Oregon Trail. The building we are now renting was built in the late 1800s as the original general store of the town and is the oldest wooden structure in Brownsville. Less than a year ago, it was being used as a witchcraft retail shop called The Hex. It was common to see witches dancing together on the sidewalk out in front of the building. All manner of darkness and evil were sold and practiced there. Situated in the old town district of our city, we would often drive by and pray that God would shut it down and reveal Himself to the witch coven that met there. I honestly wasn't thinking of opening a ministry there personally, but when we heard the witches were leaving, and the place was available, we seized the opportunity and rented it. Since we've moved in, we've been approached by many believers, some in tears, who've told us how seriously they have been praying. We believe that God has driven the darkness out in answer to the prayers of His people. We've been steadily transforming both the exterior and the interior of the building to create the environment God has put in our hearts to glorify Him. Many believers have donated time and resources to transform this place from a den of darkness into a central hub of ministry for our town. We started renting from the landlord, and he said he would give us the first option to buy the building. He originally told us that he would like us to be there for a long time. Our desire has been to rent for a few years to get the business off the ground and then use the profits of my tree service to save money to purchase the property when we are able. However, we were surprised a few months ago when our landlord suddenly told us that we need to buy the building within the next few months or he was going to sell it to someone else. Honestly, this made me a bit nervous, but through the encouragement of my wife and much prayer, we are continuing forward. So far, we've pursued a few financial options, but the doors have closed because we cannot afford the financing needed to purchase the property for this new business. We have seen this as a challenge that has presented itself as a real test of faith, and we have pressed into God's heart through prayer and believe that God is going to provide somehow through the abundance that He possesses. We've learned that God uses the vast members and gifts within His body to fulfill His will on the earth. This battle is big enough that it will take many faithful soldiers to fulfill. We're putting out the word to bring awareness that there is a financial need that we have in order to move forward with the establishment of this ministry. We're open to any creative ideas or scenarios of how to purchase this property, whether it's by a personal loan, a gift, or an investor who wants to purchase the property and lease it to us. Maybe there's another way. I know that the gift of giving is a powerful tool in the hands of God, and when we give cheerfully, God loves it. If anyone is moved by God to partner with us in any creative way, please let us know. For His glory, Scott and Annie Scones.
Wow. Wasn't that inspiring? Thank you for listening to that. And here at Extend, what we do is partner with people who want to see God's kingdom come, people who want to use business as a witness, business as mission in their communities. And we believe that a coffee house, a cafe is a really powerful way to do that. And so consider helping, consider praying about this need, or consider your connections. Is there anyone who you know has kingdom monies that would like to invest in this initiative? All right, so next we're going to be meeting with Scott and his wife and talking more about the work there. Some of this is going to be a repeat, but that's okay. You'll really enjoy this. And again, thanks for listening. And joining us this morning is Scott and Annie Scones from Brownsville, Oregon, from the other side of the continent, and also Emily Beachy, who is assistant administrator, administrative assistant. There we go. That's the right title. Here at Extend Cafes. And we're together this morning to talk about the work that God is calling the Scones to, them and their family. And it's a beautiful story. I can't wait for you to hear about it. Scott and Emily are in the process of starting Pilgrim Way Coffeehouse. I almost said cafe. My bad. Pilgrim Way Coffeehouse. I love that name. And there's a really special story behind that name. And again, Scott and Annie will tell us about that here shortly. But one of the main reasons we're together here is because at Extend Cafes, our mission is to inspire and equip Kingdom Cafe initiatives around the very simple idea of just extend your table and extend the kingdom. And so in the process of being an ally for these cafes, we get to communicate these needs to a broader group, a broader audience. And the need specifically that we're going to be talking about here um, is the need for kingdom capital investors. So, as you'll hear in the story, the Scones are in a building. They're in Brownsville. Started about in May of this past year, kind of preparing and working on it. They recently realized that the landlord is going to be selling their business, or I'm sorry, selling the building they're in. And so there's this need for a or several kingdom capital investors who can purchase this building. And so we'll kind of unpack that a little bit more, maybe towards the end of this time together, this interview. And so back to the story here. Scott, tell us a little bit about your family, your wife, your children, and the work that God is calling you to there.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Scott Scones, and this is my wife Annie, and we've been married for 21 years. And we live
Wonderful.
in Brownsville, Oregon. So it's a little town in between Albany and Eugene, and it's a beautiful
Sure.
area. The town is at the very end of one of the original Oregon Trail routes, and
Hmm.
it's just a real kind of old town. It has an old town feel to it, small town, but a real need. And so, yeah, our vision has been just like you're saying to open up a cafe to really be an outpost for the kingdom of God and to reach people in a really unique way, in a real relevant way, in a daily way, to be able to really share the gospel and provide an environment of fellowship for the church to work out their gifts, to really be an active church, a daily church, and
Sure.
interact with the lost and one another in a ministry context.
Hmm.
So,
Scott, would you mind just telling a little bit about your congregation? Are you a church house in a corner, or more of a house church, or what does that look like?
yeah. Well, yeah, there's just some local believers around here
Hmm.
where we gather together. Right now, it's a rotation between just, two homes, actually our house and another
Sure.
brother and his family. And yeah,
Hmm.
there's, I don't know, 6 families, maybe, something like that.
Okay.
But when you say six, it sounds like a small number, but when they all have a bunch of children, you know how it is.
50 people.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of
Yeah.
people, most of them
Yeah.
are children. But
Sure.
yeah, there's some families that we get together, worship the Lord,
Yes.
and a
Uh-huh.
lot of them come from an Anabaptist background.
Okay.
Our theological ideas and stances land with the Anabaptists, but we're
Hmm.
not affiliated with any
Sure.
specific Anabaptist church.
Okay. Yeah, and you have a beautiful story about how God led you to kingdom Christianity, but that'll be for another time.
Yeah, that's a long
However, you do have a YouTube channel. I've listened to some of your talks on there.
one.
Is it just called Scott Shones, your YouTube, or what is it
Yeah,
called?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyhow, some really powerful teaching there by Brother Scott, how he came kind of out of more of a Protestant type understanding. So anyhow, let's continue. Fun little rabbit trails. I love those.
Yeah.
So let's continue.
Yeah. Okay. So the way it started with us, it's kind of been like a lot of things, a growing burden in our hearts, and just seeing a real need as we've gone from different places, come from evangelical Christianity. We've seen house churches, we've seen communities, we've been a part
Hmm.
of a community, more communal based Christianity. We've seen just a lot of, the wide variety of different Christian experiences. And what I've found is it often somehow the enemy has snuck in and really reduced Christianity down to meetings and times and titles and names, and Christianity kind of becomes something off to the side, maybe a meeting you go to, a place you meet at. um, there's church and then
Hmm.
there's real life, if you would.
Right.
But what I
Right.
see in the book of Acts, and a lot of us do, is that this was a daily experience where they were living with a vision and a mission to reach people. They were engaging the lost, and that's been a huge burden of ours, is how do we promote and be a part of more of a daily Christian experience,
Hmm.
and offer those opportunities to other believers, because the traditional Christianity that we've been exposed to, at least, it leaves room for the speaking gifts, maybe if you're a worship leader, or if you do something that really helps with an event or a
Sure.
Sunday meeting, you can be
Mm.
in ministry. Other than that, you're pretty much there to throw your money at it and just kind of keep it going and pray for
Wow.
the people who are in ministry. But the reality is, we're all in ministry. And
Yes.
we all have a
Amen.
calling. It's true. There's some that are more, speaking gifts, and some people are leaders. Not everyone's a leader, but everybody has a purpose and a gift. And we've been trying to look for opportunities to create where people can minister and on a daily basis like that. So we've always, not always, but it's grown in our heart, and we've had the thought, hey, some kind of a restaurant or a cafe, or there's many ways this can be done. It's not just reduced to
Hmm.
that, obviously, but what an opportunity to be able to set the environment that people come into, that is your home turf, and they're there, and you're also in a position to be a servant. So you're already in a really neat position to be able to
Hmm.
reach people with the very heart of God. And so this burden started to grow. How can we create something like this?
Hmm.
And maybe I'll let you share too, just a little bit about how Pilgrim comes into that, because we've also been looking for a way for our son, Pilgrim, which is part of this name here,
Hmm.
to, as he grows up, a place for him to be able to work, because he's a unique person. You
Yes.
could share a little bit about him.
Sure.
Hmm.
And I add a little something to that also is we homeschool our children. We have 8 children. Um, and at this point in our life, this season, we have three, almost four teenagers and then a couple
Yeah.
beneath them and Pilgrim.
Hmm.
And um, over the last year or two, I've really been hungering as a mother to how are my children reaching out? We're investing a
Hmm.
lot in them, but what's their outlet?
Hmm.
And we see this as a very neat opportunity for them to um, learn to interact with people and learn to serve and have an outlet to be reaching out.
Hmm.
And so Pilgrim has Down syndrome and he's 9 years old. And one special thing about him, if I were to say two things he loves, is he loves greeting people. He loves any new face, any new person. He'll be your best friend within a few minutes if you give him some attention and interact with him. He's
Yes.
instantly on your team. So he
Uh-huh.
loves to greet people, and he also loves food and working in the kitchen. He's always wanting to help with breakfast, lunch, or dinner and put his hands to something. So it's a
Hmm.
neat combination naturally in his interests. So we're hoping one day that he would have a special part in the coffee house, whatever role we could find for him. It won't be too hard given his
Yeah.
natural interests. So we get excited about the idea of our whole family learning to work as a team and minister together and engage with our community.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very special. I can't wait to meet Pilgrim. I've heard
Yeah,
good things about him.
yeah, he's a neat little guy.
Yeah.
Real bright, outgoing, and real
Yes.
healthy and high functioning Down syndrome. But yeah,
Yeah.
he
Uh-huh.
definitely has his challenges. But I think in the environment of people coming in, talk about bringing them into a different environment. There's going to be a lot of things about the coffee house that are very engaging and unique, and that's going to be one of those like cherry on top, is to meet Pilgrim and have him come up and give food and sweep the floors and, I don't know, fill up people's water or something like that. He's a real bright
Hmm.
person, so yeah, that's one thing we wanted to. That was part of the burden and part of calling it the Pilgrim Way. Not just because of Pilgrim, but there is a really deep meaning to that to us, and it's that there's a way of life. We call it the Pilgrim Way because we're just passing through, right? Like we're
Hmm.
all heading somewhere, and people can relate to this. Even atheists, they can't argue that they're on their way through life. It's just passing. They're going to die someday. Life is a journey. People can relate
Hmm.
to that, the ups, the
Hmm.
downs, the valleys, the mountaintops, the path. You're heading somewhere. They might think it's lights out forever, but our idea is to engage people on their journey and get them to look up at their creator and try to engage them right where they're at, not just necessarily have the gospel plastered on the wall, but trying to partner with the Holy Spirit at the next thing that each person needs. And it might be the gospel, it might be just a rebuke, it can be, you know how it is, but sometimes it's just a smile, and it's an opportunity, even when something goes wrong, to show them mercy. It's an opportunity to ask if they have a prayer request, and to
Hmm.
really intentionally engage them and have a ministry team. We're going to be hiring believers that are a discipled team of ministers that really are reaching out very intentionally, whether from behind the counter or bussing tables,
Hmm.
The idea will be to meet every morning and really get in the word together. And I'm excited about that part of it, is discipling actually the crew to
Sure.
reach the people that come in.
Hmm.
So I do have a vision statement I could read that would give kind of a
Yeah, but
backdrop
great.
to the whole thing.
Yeah,
You want to hear
just
that?
real before we go there, what is your current occupation, Scott?
Yeah, well, I have a tree service that I've owned for, I think it's been about 14, 15 years. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm self-employed. I'm a contractor, and I
Hmm.
work with my sons. And yeah, we live in Oregon, and so it's a real ongoing business of
Sure.
trees growing, very large
Yeah.
trees. We have equipment for that, and
Hmm.
that's what we do. We remove and
Sure.
trim trees. So
Yep. So one thing about a coffee house is that kind of career or occupation is a little more accessible to the ladies and others, right? Thinking of
Yeah.
kind of equipping all to be
right,
ministers. Yeah.
and I have 5 girls, so
Okay. Nice,
although they do
nice.
yesterday they were trimming some fruit trees with me, but in general,
Okay.
I kind of want to get them in a with some soap making, candle making, barista work, because we're gonna do some unique things. We're gonna sell some neat handmade stuff too at the coffee house, so it's a little
Sure.
more than just food and coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Very well. Yeah. So go ahead. Give us your vision and mission there.
Okay, yeah. Actually, you were the one that inspired me, because this doesn't come very natural to me. You said, "Hey, sit down and write down a mission," and I'm like, "What's that?" A vision. What's the difference? And so I did. It was a neat thing to do, and this pretty much it captures some of the things that are in our heart in just a few words. So the mission is to use exceptional food and coffee to draw people into an attractive and inspirational environment where an intentional ministry team can engage them with the extravagant love of God. I know that's a lot
Man.
of words, but maybe that could be written up there. But um, that's our mission. And the deeper underlying vision would be to to be a haven of hospitality in the midst of a lost culture that provides daily opportunity for the children of God to grow together as they inspire life's travelers to follow Jesus.
Mm.
So it's twofold, really. It's not just, hey, let's reach the lost, and it's not just, hey, let's disciple the saved. It's both. It's let's equip believers to reach out in a unique context, to engage people with, and I put in there the extravagant love of God, something I've really been inspired by in my own heart. And then you guys pretty much just poured the fuel on it when I came over to the Coffee Academy, was this idea of this extravagant hospitality, this unreasonable service, like not shrinking
Hmm.
away from, but actually leaning into opportunities where maybe you're mistreated, even, or maybe something doesn't go your way, or maybe someone doesn't deserve things. And instead of going, and make it all about money or me or any of that, seizing these opportunities to display the extravagant love of God that goes further. What's different when they walk into this place? Just like our own homes, what's different when someone comes over to
Right.
our home than the average home? Yeah, I
Hmm.
hope it's those unreasonably extravagant displays of the love of God, because we serve a God that, I mean, let's face it, he's got this crazy love that is not self-centered at all, that's constantly coming out at you in this unreasonable way that just blows your heart away eventually, and it captures you. And what an opportunity to do that, when people come in. So we want to learn how to engage them with that God. And it might, again, just might be that smile, it might be that conversation, that question you ask, that free coffee you give, that
Hmm.
opportunity you
Absolutely.
seize, just the little things on a daily basis to get those long-term relationships, especially with the local people that live here. So that's kind of our vision. uh, and it's just developed over a
Hmm.
while, and it's still, how it is, it's still forming as we go. But that's our heart. We really want to reach people with God's love.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for giving us that little tour. Emily, if you have any questions or thoughts, just kind of hop right in. I tend to talk too much, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
I loved your vision statement. Yeah, it's so inspiring, and especially the part about the extravagant love of God. That's something that continues to inspire, like, yeah, working in a cafe context because you're in such a unique position to be able to care for people in such an unreasonable way and reach people in the ways that God has reached me. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I just love hearing your heart for that.
Yeah, there's a great quote kind of building on that, Emily, and some of your thoughts there. There's this great quote by Will Gardero with the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Do you have that book, Scott?
I don't.
Okay.
You gave me one and I forgot it, but I was there.
Well, I tell you what, every party coming to Extend Conference is getting one of these this year. And we even have a personal recorded message for us from Will Gardero himself, which is going to be really special to play. But he says in his book, he said, when a restaurant is intentional enough in creating the conditions for genuine connection, they have the capacity to put the world on pause for the people in their world. So yeah, so God bless you there with that vision and mission. So Scott, tell us a little more about this building that you're in. So
Okay.
just kind of get in the weeds a little bit. So by the way, for those who are listening here, we're gonna have a at the end of this call, we're gonna put in a video from Scott and his son of like a Zoom of a drone zooming around, doing some video there, and Scott and his son maybe doing some talking, some voiceover of the facility, so you can kind of see exactly what we're talking about. But tell us, let's jump in here. So this building that you're in, a little bit about this building, when you got in there, and kind of how we ended up here
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, okay. Um, One thing that goes along with the vision of the Pilgrim Way is kind of an old-fashioned feeling we've really wanted to capture, where you walk in and it's not so much video screens up there in a real modern environment, but more of a down-to-earth, just I don't know, more of an old, yeah, a rustic feel. We're gonna have handmade furniture in there. We're gonna have a lot of
Hmm.
pieces of art and things like that.
Hmm.
But the neat thing is about the building is the building, first of all, about a year, well, the last few years, it's actually been a witchcraft retail shop that actually rented this place. And it was not a little issue either. This wasn't just, kind of like maybe you'd go to Disneyland and walk in and you could get a bumper sticker that said, said my other car is a broom, or these kind of jokes that people have. This was like full on. They were selling Ouija boards, they were selling spell
Wow.
books, and there would be witches
Wow.
dancing out in the front of this place. It was called the Hex.
Mm.
And in our town, there's a lot of people, we live in Oregon, there's kind of this new age liberal spirit around here. But in general, we live in a pretty conservative area, kind of a conservative pocket of Oregon. So a lot of people haven't liked this being in town, but nonetheless, it was there and it made enough
Hmm.
business to keep going. But we would drive by and it was just a stain on the city. It'd be like, wow, this place, you'd see witches dancing out front on the sidewalk. Literally, it was a little bit wild, but
Wow.
we would pray, Lord, I would pray, Lord, shut that place down and reveal yourself to the people that own it and the witch coven that meets there.
Mm.
And I would just pray. And there was a lot of Christians praying. I didn't really realize this, but until it went out of business and they were leaving town and I heard it was available, we thought about it for a quick minute, but we're like, we should jump in there and take the place because it's in an incredible location. It's right on a
Hmm.
corner. It's got a really neat courtyard to it. The building itself was built in the late 1800s, and it's the oldest. Again, the town being at the end of the Oregon Trail, it was the first built like stick building where it made out of wood, and it
Mm.
was the general store of the original pioneer town of Brownsville, and
Wow.
so it's the original building, and so it's like a relic, and it's neat. It's old and really cool looking. It has a lot of history to it, and anyway, we're like, we need to jump on this, so we approached the landlord, and other people were interested in it too, but we got it, and we've been renting it for almost a year now. And man, Christians have come to us with tears in their eyes. There's probably been literally 50 people who have come up to me personally and just said, we've been praying. We've been praying. And so we genuinely believe that witchcraft coven and that place has been rooted out of the town through prayer.
Wow.
And so anyway, the building, it's actually two different buildings that are almost, they're linked together. It's one property, but it's a really neat uh, old building that we're keeping that old feel to it, but we're restoring it as well because it needs work, and we've put a lot of work into it. So we
Hmm.
started renting it, and yeah, we've been there doing improvements. And originally, the landlord told us, we want you to be there for a long time and just rent until you get this off the ground. You know how it is with a coffee shop or something. You need to have a few years to get it established before
Right.
we might consider the option of buying. And he said, I'll give you first option to buy. You can be here long term was the thought. We didn't put it on
Hmm.
paper for long term, but I had this feeling that it was going to keep going. And anyway, then he he just approached me just at the end of last year. And so this has only been a couple months where we've known that he said, you know what, I'm actually going to sell this by April unless you buy it. And so we've been like, wow, we haven't yet got the doors open, and we've put a lot of money into restoring this building and increasing
Hmm.
its value. And now we need to buy this soon if we're going to stay here. And
Mm.
so it's been a challenge, but the building, we're still renting it. It's there. We're doing minor improvements still, but um, we think it's going to be a really good spot. We couldn't imagine a better spot for the Pilgrim Way Coffeehouse to be than right in that downtown. It's the old town too. They actually have stipulations. The city has stipulations that a certain part of the town needs to remain old from the look of the late 1800s to early 1900s. So it's original. And so it's really neat. All of the post offices across the street, it has this really old look to it. The hardware store's a brick building. There's a lot of really neat, uh, beautiful structures downtown, old town Brownsville. And we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing that. Um, one of the things that we've come across as we've helped start other cafes with Extend is we've come to realize that many times we're going into kind of enemy territory, or as one person put it, right into the lion's den. And we've had people several times now saying, we're praying for this cafe because we've been praying for a Christian, cafe in this area. Um, and there's almost no Christian presence in this area. And you're really there's spiritual warfare that is needed here.
Mhm.
And so we've seen that with other cafes, and just hearing that again with the need there in Brownsville, what was in there, and what God is doing, right? And that shouldn't surprise us. God's on the move. Um,
Mhm.
this verse in Isaiah 43:19 NLT says this: "For I'm about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wasteland." And I just love hearing that story, that vision that you have for bringing, a piece of the home turf to foreign soil. They're bringing heaven to earth there in downtown Brownsville. And
Mhm.
so we're praying with you. We're seeking God's face with you. I know that you've been praying and fasting about this. Many people have been praying, and so we're just honored to journey with you and see what God has in store for this. I know that you're fully committed to God's will, and so you've been just really laying it for the Lord. And I was the one who said, "Hey, Scott, maybe we should do a little recording." So there's people out there who just would love to invest in something like this, but if they don't know it, how can they help you? And so that's the purpose for this call here, is just to create an opportunity to get the word out. And so any of those who are listening, pray about this, enter into prayer first and foremost, right? And praying that God's will be done in regards to Pilgrim Way Coffee House. If you know of anyone who you might think would be interested, um, who has some kingdom capital that might be interested in investing in this building, let us know, reach out to us. So Anything else? Any question you might have, Emily or Scott and Annie? Anything else you wanted to share here before we wrap this call up?
Well, one thing I could say is that it's amazing when all the different gifts of the church come together.
Mm-hmm.
And it just as it is amazing when the human body functions as it should. It's amazing what the human body can do. And when all things are working right, and in Ephesians it talks about every part supplying what it needs so that the whole thing is edified unto love, and it represents Christ in his fullness. And I love God's wisdom. Sometimes to my flesh it's a little frustrating, honestly, that he doesn't just divvy out all the gifts, to me. I wish I could just we all kind of wish we could just do it all. But
Yeah.
there's something very beautiful in God's wisdom about the dependence that he leaves for us to be dependent on one another,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a bigger vision he has than even getting work done. He wants to teach us to love each other, and he wants to represent himself to the world through multiple facets. It says the manifold grace of God. Be stewards of the manifold grace of God, if as you minister the grace, the gift that he's given you. And so when we hear the word gift, we can think of a lot of things. You can think of a birthday party, you get a gift, someone just gives you something. Or you can think of gifted people, man, and it comes in people's minds, whether someone's athletic or somebody is able to speak well or whatever. But the gifts, they're from God. We don't choose them. It says he distributes to each as he wills. And when you start really pressing into the heart of God, you gather this reality comes to your heart that, man, your vision is big, Lord. You want to actually, it's global domination with the gospel. That's
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
And so, wow, that's intimidating a little bit if I just think of me and my wife trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think in context of the body of Christ and every member does its share, it's humbling
Mm-hmm.
to say, we need you or we need help. But it's true. It's just the way it is. And it glorifies God when the members come together and all the gifts begin to be used for certain, functions. And, the gift of giving, it's right there listed with miracles. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing. And I think we need to realize that the scriptures talks about the Lord loves a cheerful giver. And there
Yeah.
are some people, I have seen it in my life, when you come into somebody who has that gift, they can give without their left hand knowing what their right hand is doing. They can give unto the glory of God from the heart, and it's amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about that lately, is that the gift of giving in its function is enabling a background, sometimes a background ministry of the body that just totally enables things to just get pushed forward
Right.
for the kingdom of dark. It's a big part of dropping the strongholds of the kingdom of darkness
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
enabling people with other giftings who are kind of out in more of a forefront to be
That's right.
the voices and the initiators of other
Yeah.
things. And so
Yeah.
I just want to speak to you givers that, hey, I know that I've had it happen to me too at times. When it's from God, and it's a beautiful thing. And you just
Mm-hmm.
partner with the Holy Spirit, and it
Amen.
just helps ministry go
Yeah.
forward. So,
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. I've seen that happen as well in my life and with people around me, and that's beautiful to see that happen. It's this big understanding that there's many resources, and if the better we can team together, the more synergy we can have, the more work can get done. We see it at Sowers on a really busy Saturday. So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, very well. Okay, well, thank you again, Scott and Annie, for joining. If there's any questions that you would have, please reach out to us here, extendcafes.com. We have a contact form there. You can also email us too. Emily, could you give what is our email for Extend, our general email?
info@extendcafes.com.
Thank you. And that will get Emily. So feel free to reach out to us. Be happy to have a conversation with you, talk more about it. We can get you in touch with Scott as well. All right. Thank you again, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.